Welcome to the Hard Truth Podcast. This is Jeremy Fouts, and today we are going to be talking about the facts about everyday life. And I wanted to, get up this morning and I was excited about to share with you an episode that goes through some of my personal journey, some things that kind of scared me in life. And when you get to be 49, I really, have this awareness of what I went through when I was in 30-year-old, 35, having small kids, to building a company and then starting CorVive at 40 years old when a lot of people that would view Candace and I's life at that time, you're thinking, man, why would you invest everything you worked so hard for to start a new journey? And a lot of people call this 35, 45, 50 age a midlife crisis. And here's the way I look at this: you can either choose that it's a midlife crisis, or you can take your experience, and this is part of my notes, and now have the best time of your life. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about this today. And I know the majority of my age demographics they give me on the podcast is between 30 to 50. So there's really not anything that I don't know about that span of life. And this reason I wanted to do this podcast is I have a lot of people coming to me and saying, thank you for your words. It's encouraged me now to start my own business, to do different things. And I wanted to really just challenge every one of you, whether it's starting a new business or not. That's not what I'm talking about. It's to be the best that you can be. A lot of you have probably seen on Instagram me doing a lot of meals for athletes. I work with a lot of athletes. I love that. It's a passion of mine. Don't make a lot of money, but I absolutely love it, of educating young athletes about their health and nutrition, how to push themselves, working with them on mindset. But I can tell you, one of the things that I really get the most gain from is watching people like my audience take bold leaps to be the best that they can be. So I wanted to deliver a message to you today going over that. We do have some exciting things coming up for the next couple of episodes. We have grown our audience in the female demographic quite substantially, and I think that that's because of my wife that's been on the podcast a couple times, and we're going to have her back on. But we have a lady named Dr. Christine that I'm going to have on next week that is going to be talking about women issues and different things, and I can't wait to have her. And then I've got a good friend, Henry Burris, that played pro football that I went to high school with, and we're going to have him on as well to talk about some different, life journeys that he's went through. And these are going to be two powerful episodes that I do not want you to miss. So let's get started. The facts about everyday life. Number one,
Let's go. What up?
is you're not too tired, you're uninspired. And I see this over and over. I have dads that call me up often and they're like, man, I'm just a little lethargic in the morning. I don't know what's going on. And I tell them 99% of the time, yes, it can be diet. Yes, it can be hormones. Yes, all the things that you hear me talk about on this podcast. But the majority of the problem is burnout, loss of drive, and going through the motions in life. I'm telling you today, if you are that person, you're thinking, man, I'm just tired. No, you're not. You're uninspired. So I want to encourage you. It's not about getting more sleep, and I believe in sleep. Don't get me wrong. You've heard me talk about that, but you need a reason to wake up and be fired up. You need to find something, whether it be your health, whether it be your finances. You need to go chase something. That's what's going to get you inspired. And that's something that I can tell you, I've went through these phases in life. When I lived on that ranch in Colorado, I was enjoying the moment of being in the middle of Colorado. The weather was fantastic. No mosquitoes, no poisonous snakes. I hate snakes. And I was enjoying being with my wife and my two boys, but I was also lacking something because God put something in me every day of getting up and making an impact in people's life. So I want to really, really encourage you to reignite that passion and your fitness goals, your family mission, your spiritual, all those different areas, and be that example for your family. That was something that really drove me. In my 30s is when I made the millions of dollars in that other company, and I loved it. I mean, I was living on top of the mountain, but I knew my boys were so young that they didn't see that. And that was a large reason for me starting CorVive is I wanted them to see, how a man chases passion. I wanted them to see, me as a dad, not just getting up, checking on my stocks in my bank account, but pushing myself in the gym, in business, to be the best that I can be. So I want to tell you the point number one, you're not tired, you're just uninspired. And I want to challenge you to find that inspiration. Number two is discipline is the shortcut. I've got a good friend. He's an FBI agent out in Nevada, and we talk often, about different things. And we've had this conversation numerous times. He spends a lot of the holidays here. His family comes, and we spent a lot of times when we lived at the ranch during the holidays together. We had this conversation a million times about different criminals that the FBI usually gets, and they're going to get them sooner or later, how intelligent they are and how smart they are. Whether it be bank robberies, whether it be, some kind of other, criminal, mischief that they're in to try to make money. And the conversation has always been they're so intelligent, but the problem is they're always looking for the easy way. They can't just focus on doing the right things. If they use that intelligence and focused on the discipline of doing the right things, they could accomplish so many great things. And the reason at this point is important for me to bring across to you is that's the way our brain works. We're always looking for a shortcut. We're always looking for an easy way. See, the problem is most people are stuck and have no results and constant excuses because motivation is a myth. See, if you show up regardless of how you feel and you have the daily non negotiables in place, and that's your fitness, your nutrition, your family, your finances, you share your own rhythm now, and that's what's going to change your life. So it's all about the discipline. And I can tell you, I have again multiple conversations a day with dads that just say, you know what, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't have the drive to go to the gym. None of us really want to in the beginning want to go to the gym. None of us want to say no to that cookie. But it's that discipline, that's the real shortcut, doing the right things. See, discipline simplifies your life. And you don't have to wake up and decide anymore if you made the decision already. You're headed to the gym at 6 a.m., at 5:30, whatever time it is. Your workout is done before breakfast. You're not choosing bad foods. And discipline is what builds confidence. Every time you show up and you prove to yourself that you can trust yourself, your discipline goes through the roof. It's not about how much, it's about consistency. Even a 20-minute walk, if you tell yourself every day, I'm going to do a 20-minute walk, and you continuously do that every day, I'm going to eat clean. And the discipline now creates a momentum, and you get excited about it. When you get one area of discipline, then that spills over to the other one. That's why I love starting with health. Not just because I own a nutrition company, it's because I went through those phases where I got a little bit chubby and I watched my finances not do as good. I watched my marriage not be as well as it could be. I watched my relationship with my boys not be what it could be. Because when you have discipline in one area, 9 times out of 10, it's going to spill over into the other. And success isn't about talent, it's about traction. And traction starts with your choice and your decision to have discipline. And one of the small little quotes that I wrote down that I was studying this morning, discipline isn't a grind, it's a gift for your future self. So don't look at discipline as just this whole big negative thing. Oh, I've got to be disciplined. Jeremy's talking about discipline again. You look at discipline and say, this is a gift to become the person that I want to be. Number three is, what are you avoiding? I've watched over and over as I've worked with people in the last 25 years. The problem here is procrastination, and it's numbing with either social media, alcohol, or this thing called busyness. I see people over and over. When I get on a plane to fly commercial, I go through the aisle and I love looking over my shoulder as I'm going down the aisle of looking at grown adults playing video games, strolling through social media, all these different things. And I'm sitting there thinking, now there's nothing wrong with it a little bit. But most of these people, they are avoiding. And here's the truth about that: what you avoid will own you. Face it, or you stay stuck where you are in life. Because the real inspiration is for you to say, you know what, I'm going to make a decision to really change where I'm at in my life, and I'm going to have to quit procrastinating on these things that are holding me back. I've been there. I was scared to start my business named CorVive at the age 40-year old. I wanted to hang on to that money that I worked so hard for in my 30s. But I knew that if I didn't face my fears and I didn't go after what it was that I wanted to accomplish, then I was not going to be fulfilled in life. What are you avoiding? Is it alcohol? Is it social media? Is it Netflix? What are you avoiding? Taking control of your health, taking control of your marriage, being that example for your kids. But I'm telling you, if you don't quit avoiding it, you're going to stay where you are. Next is marriage, muscles, and money. Don't let one kill the other. See, the problem is when you get in that midlife situation, you become a very good suspect for imbalance. And one area thriving will a lot of times be the result of another one suffering. So there's nothing wrong with having muscles. Muscle is the longevity. I've talked about that a lot here on podcasts. There's nothing wrong with having a awesome marriage. I really want you to strive for that. There's nothing wrong for you having a good bank account. I want you to do that. But you can't just be focused on the money and neglect your health and neglect your marriage. You can't just be focused on having the best marriage, but you don't have the finances and you don't have the health. You've got to understand that you've got to have a balance. Get up in the morning, focus on building muscle, focus on doing date night once a week. Candace and I, to this day, we started this in my 30s, but pretty much every week. Not only are we doing date nights at baseball games, and Lord knows we're doing a lot of those. We're playing 5 baseball games a week right now, and that's just going to go into a bigger schedule this summer with Pearson traveling everywhere, and then Beckett playing baseball and lacrosse on the East Coast. We have a busy life. But I made a determination back in my 30s, and that's the reason we're married at 28 years later. Is I said I'm going to date my wife. I mean, there was times where years I had this florist that I would go get flowers for her on a weekly basis. We doing the date nights. A lot of you have heard about our Tuesdays. We have times what we call Naked Tuesdays back then, and now we spread it out during different times of the week. But when we come together, we say, you know what, our marriage is first, and we're going to focus on that marriage, and that's powerful. But you have to keep your priorities straight. You have to have the date nights. You have to have the morning workouts. You have to have the budgeting time. You have to have those business vision alignments of where it is that you want to go with your future. Number six, you're not too old. You're just playing small. See, I see this over and over. This is the problem. People think they've missed their shot. And I was going to get a bunch of stories and give you, today. And then I thought, no, it's not necessary. These people have heard the stories. of the Colonel Sanders with Kentucky Fried Chicken, started the chain at 65 years old when he thought he was too old and he's selling his chicken out of the back of his car. I mean, I could tell you stories after stories, but here's the thing: you've got more experience at your age, you've got more wisdom, and you have more leverage now. And the inspiration behind this is a 40 something year old person. They can be that comeback. They can be that person that says, I can do this even bigger and better because of that wisdom. You're not too old to chase it. You just convince yourself that comfort is enough. And let me be real with you here. It's not your age that's slowing you down, it's the size of your vision. Now, I'm not saying you have to go start your own business, but I'm saying look at the things in your life that is not where it needs to be, and focus on those areas and say, I'm being I'm in a state of apathy. I'm complacent. I've got to get over this. And I have moms and dads over and over ask me about, how can I help my kid? And I can give them so many different ways of sleep, nutrition, hydration, working with them around the house and making sure that they own responsibility of doing their own laundry, helping with the dishes, helping with cook, teaching them how to cook, all these different things. But really, when it comes down to how you can help your kids the most, be that example. Be that fit dad, be that fit mom, be that person that jumps out of bed with a great attitude. Show them that you're studying by having a personal development book where you're studying health. You're continuously trying to push your mind and stretch your mind to say, this is how we get better in life. But you're not too old. You're just playing way too small. Number 7, why you still don't feel like a man or a strong woman. And here's the reason: identity crisis. See, men and women, when they go through that midlife, they feel lost. And I can't speak from a woman, but well, I'll try to. I've never been a woman, but a man, when they're going through midlife, they're thinking, man, I've completed my role. I've got a house, I've got a car, I'm paying the bills. And all of a sudden, a man thinks that that's really all I was meant to be. And I'm sure you women, if you're working a job, you're thinking, man, I'm working a job, and then my job is to do laundry, my job is to cook, and all these different things. And I'm gonna tell you that that's not the way it's meant to be. Yes, you have to take care of business, you have to provide, you have to protect, but the hard truth is you've been chasing validation instead of purpose. And what's going to make you feel like a man or a strong woman again is when you quit chasing validation and you start chasing purpose. You find that new fire, you find that new excitement, and say, dadgummit, I'm not staying where I'm at in life. You've got to reframe identity. What does being a strong leader look like for you? What does a strong parent look like for you? A strong partner look like to you? Being the best you can be and striving every day to meet your full potential. A couple takeaways that I put on this is talking about your experience as your edge. You've got something the 20-year-olds don't have, and that's perspective. You've seen failure, you've seen success. Now you can move smarter and not just always harder, but start where you are. Use what you know. You don't need permission to reinvent. You don't need a new body. You don't need a new business. You don't need a new mindset. You don't need approval. You need action. You need to identify where you are in life and say, you know what? People say, what if it doesn't work? I'm going to flip it and say, what if it does work? Reinvention is a decision, not a restart. Your kids, your team, I got a lot of coaches that listen to this. They need to see you go for it. They want to be inspired by you, your employees, your circle of influence. Candace and I often have people come to us and say, man, how do I get fit? How do I be a better parent? How do I cook more healthy meals for my kids? You are looking to be that example, to show them what it's like to go all in at 35, 40, 45, 50, no matter what your age is. Be the proof that it's never too late to be elite. Number 8, your body isn't broken. You've just been lied to. See, if you have this problem of low energy, weight gain, mental fog, it's not your age. It's your habits, your environment, and what you're fueling with. Yes, we've already talked about strength training. We've already talked about, the healthy eating and hormones and all these different things. It's very important. But you've been lied to saying that my body's just broken. We've got to change all these things, our habits, our environment, what we are putting fuel in our body, and you got to be a little bit educated on the inflammation that comes from poor food choices, the bad foods, the lack of movement, and offer what really fixes this is a clear mind, good protein, good hydration, good lifting, good walking, and saying, you know what, my environment and my habits are going to change. Your body isn't broken. You've just been lied to. And if you change all these different aspects, you're going to feel like a new person and have that energy to chase whatever your purpose and passion is. Number 9 is everyone's focused on success. Few people talk about survival. The problem here is it is a real thing that a lot of people struggle with anxiety, silent suffering. They're trying to keep up with the other people around them. Most people are drowning in stress and pretending it's fine. I've learned that through working with people for the last 25 years. When you first meet someone, they tell you everything is great. They're smiling, they're happy, they look good. And then in a quiet room, they break down and say, these things are going on in my life. Now, I'm going to tell you, mental health is real, but all these different things I'm talking about. But the reason I bring this up is everyone wants to talk about the success. Everyone wants to talk about the great things in life. But going through midlife, you're going to deal with some issues. And one of the things I'll tell you about, find you a someone you can trust. Talk about the things you're going through in life. Put some boundaries up. Learn to say no. I was the worst person at anybody called me in my 30s and asked me to do something, I would say yes. And then I'd be sitting there thinking, man, I can't believe I told that person yes, and I've got to go. I learned now in my later years in life, I would say, Charlie, as of right now, it's not possible. But if something changes, I'll let you know. And the reason I'm saying that is because I felt like I had to say yes to everything. I felt like I had to not have any boundaries to let everyone into my life. But as I matured, I recognized that taking on a yes every time, just because I feel bad if I don't say yes, it causes so much more heartache and anxiety in me because I'm not able to be the true person that I'm meant to be because I'm taking on so many other things. So, building a system that keeps you strong without burning out is the key. You're going to have things that you struggle with. There are seasons in life, and there is problems and issues and all these things that's the way life has been. I did a podcast recently talking about the seasons of life. You're going to have the winter months. You're going to have the spring months when you're excited to plant the seeds. You're going to have the summer months where you're going to think, are my seeds that become plants going to die because I got so many weeds in them? But then you're going to have a harvest and you're going to say, man, I did have a pretty decent harvest. Now I've got to do these things. You're going to have seasons of life. Understand those seasons of life is going to make you bigger and stronger, but you need to put a system in place. You need to have boundaries. You need to have people in your life that you can trust, and you need to definitely learn to be able to say no. That because it's most of the time. Now I'm not saying if your church needs help to say no every time, but I'm saying Understand when you accept that responsibility is something that you want to do and it's going to bring value to your life. Number 10 is faith, failure, and the comeback story no one sees. And I jumped ahead a little bit of myself, and the problem here is people don't talk about these dark seasons, and that's what I'm trying to continue to talk about. You don't need a perfect past to have a powerful future. You know, one of my most hard decisions ever was when I had the faith and the discipline to say I'm launching this company named CorVive. It was the hardest thing that I ever did because I knew I was investing the finances I worked so hard for, but I knew I had the faith. I knew that I was not afraid of failure, and I knew that I needed to come back. I needed to show my boys that I could build something from the ground up. I needed to show them how a man was supposed to treat his wife. I needed to show them how a man was going to comfort them and to provide for them and to teach them about life. See, every one of you listening, you if you have the faith and you're not worried about failure, you can be that comeback story as well. And it might not be starting a business. It could just be changing your whole aspect of life, your attitude, your fitness, your personality, becoming that person that God intended for you to be. So I can tell you three different takeaways here. And that's number one, experience is your edge. You've got something those 20-year-olds don't have. You've seen failure, you've seen success. Now you can move smarter and not just harder, like I mentioned earlier. Start where you are, use what you know. You don't need permission to reinvent. You don't want to be that person that does not choose their purpose and potential. If you're still here, you've still got a mission. Don't waste it chasing mediocre. You have got to decide I am not going to be mediocre. I am going to be not average. I am not going to be just so so. I'm going to choose excellence because potential doesn't expire, but it does go unused. Comfort might feel good, but it won't make you proud. You weren't made to coast, you were made to conquer. You've got 20 to 30 solid years of impact left. That's a legacy, but only if you get in the game. Stop waiting, stop watching, step it up, play bigger, and give the second half of your life the fire that the first half was missing. It's not your age holding you back, it's your comfort zone. So, guys, this podcast is something that meant a lot to me to deliver to you today. If you like it, please share it with a friend or a family member. Follow us on YouTube. It's growing tremendously. If you got some young athletes, point them to my Instagram page at Jeremy Fouts Leadership. I'm trying to help them understand life through nutrition and also a personal mindset to build champions. Thank you for all your love and support for the Hard Truth podcast. This is something that gives me fire every day to be able to get up once a week and to deliver a message that hopefully we can use my personal setbacks, my personal examples to give you fuel throughout the week to be the best you can be. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Let's go!